In this video tutorial we're going to look at how you go about matching a song that perhaps doesn't have a regular grid value detected by Ableton, or something that has a long introduction with no drums in. This can obviously be quite difficult for Ableton to work out a specific grid value, bars and beats, so we'll need to do this one manually. So for this I'm using Oxygen 2, Jean-Michel Jarre as the to demonstrate the processes involved. Let's have a quick listen to the intro, just a little bit of it. So as you can hear, there's no specific rhythms within there, and it's not until we get to this section up here until the drums kick in. Okay, so what Ableton has done is analysed this piece of audio and tried its hardest to work out what tempo it should be at and some possible places for warp markers. So if we double click this, if we zoom in a little bit, we can see that there are some points in preparation for where Ableton believes warp markers could be placed, and it has also worked out the tempo of the piece of music. So it's estimated it to be 86.92 and has accordingly set the tempo of the project to that as well. So if we hit play and speed this up and down, we will hear that the tempo is making a difference. But if we listen to this with the metronome turned on, we'll hear that the metronome is not even close to being in time with the drums. I'll turn the track down so we can hear the metronome a little bit clearer. So what we need to do is identify where the bars should be present in the track and manually move the warp markers accordingly. So if we know that the drums kick in around this point here, and you can see on the waveform, if we zoom out a little bit, you can see that this section becomes much more populated, and it's here where the drums kick in. And it's this first transient here that indicates the first beat of the first bar that contains drums. So you can see that Ableton has identified this as a transient, but at the minute it's somewhere between the beginning of bar 38 and where it is then divided into subsections. So this should be on bar 38. So we double click the warp marker and then we can drag it and put it onto bar 38. What we're then going to do is listen to the piece of audio and identify where bar 39 should fall. So I'm just going to turn my metronome off and then we'll just play it from this section here. And it's on this beat here that should fall onto bar 39. So we'll do the same thing. We'll add the warp marker manually and we'll drag it to bar 39. So what we've essentially done is time stretched that section. Then we'll repeat the process and we'll find the bit that should work best for bar 40. And it's this one here. So I'm just watching the cursor whilst listening to it to identify which of these spikes should be the beginning of a bar. You don't have to do it by singular bars. It might be that you can listen to 2 bars and drag the last point of that. So let's have a go at that. So this one actually is the 3rd bar. So this should begin on bar 43. So if we drag this out, and then what we'll find is on bar 41 we have a point, and bar 42, and we can listen to that just to make sure we've got this accurate. Okay, as you can hear, it's slowing right down, but we have it in the right time. Our segment BPM now has adjusted to 115.88. So in order to let this to play back at the original speed, we need to now up our tempo to 115 or thereabouts. So if we have a listen to where the drums kick in, and if we listen to that with the metronome, what we should now identify is that the metronome is in time with the drums. I'll just turn the audio down so we can hear the metronome a bit clearer. And you can quite clearly hear that from bar 43 we haven't adjusted it and it goes back out of time. At this point it's worth pointing out some of the features that are available in the audio editing window when you have a sample selected. And the one that I want to focus on is here. Now this is the algorithm that analyses the audio, and then when we time stretch it, it works out how best to process the audio. So by default it's set to beats. What this has done is analyse the audio, and when we time stretch it, it's cut it up into little sections, little clips that have then been positioned over a period of time. And as a result, if we slow it down too much, so I'll bring it right down to make this obvious. Okay, you can hear the clips repeating and playing. Now this is exaggerated at 38 BPM, but even at something a bit more respectable, around 60, you can hear that it doesn't sound natural. So what we can do is select the most appropriate one from the drop-down list. The best one to use is Complex Pro on a full track, a piece of audio, as this one analyses it and creates the most realistic representation at slower speeds. It does, however, use more computer processing power, but the computers here should be more than capable of processing with it. So if I select Complex Pro and then have a listen to the audio to give you an example of what it sounds like using this algorithm. It clearly doesn't sound as natural as it should do at full speed, but you can hear that it's much smoother, and it gives us much more flexibility in terms of how fast or slow we speed our project up using the tempo.